what was then an unnamed huge fjord, and they named it College Fjord because up at the end of that fjord they discovered numerous glaciers. They ended up naming all these glaciers after northeastern colleges. Turns out those prominent northeastern colleges were the alma maters of these 30 individuals along on this expedition. So why not name the glaciers after themselves? Names like Yale and Harvard and Bryn Mawr and Smith and so forth. And they also discovered a lot more about the animals, the birds of this region. They ended up creating a 13-volume, richly photographed and illustrated set of books about just this region of Alaska. And it was very well used, and a lot of other people followed the chart that they created, and it was a Bible as such of this region. So we're about to go see some of the places that they explored for us, and as soon as we get to the mouth of the bay here, we're going to get back up to cruising speed, but we'll stay along here at a slow boat for a little bit longer, let you folks on the bow